Good day and greetings of peace. My name is Joseph Lawrence de Castro Carion, and this is the presentation of my final paper for my Filipino Philosophy class entitled The Misconception of Utang in the Philippines and How Can It Be Morally Wrong. With my paper, I hope to be able to defend my stance that there is a misconception of Utang in the Philippines and that the concept can be morally wrong because of questionable and immoral intentions and its prevalent misuse in Philippine society. I also hope to answer the following questions. What is utang na loob? What should it be? How can I determine if utang na loob in some instances is morally wrong? And can utang na loob be morally wrong? If so, when does it start being morally wrong? In the Philippines, we have a concept or trait that is supposed to be a symbol and representation of genuine support from our friends and family. A concept that is one of the key traits that should show the uniqueness of the culture the Philippines, highlights the warm-heartedness of the Filipino people, and according to Mary Holsteiner, is an ancient Filipino operating principle. But as time progresses, this trait moves along with it. Not everyone truly understands the concept, what it is, what it stands for, and what its very foundation is. There is a huge misunderstanding as to how this can be used, utilized, and this can be seen through the prevalent misuse of the value for immoral purposes in the Philippine society. In the actual paper, I told a story to help my reader visualize what the concept is, its very essence. And the story goes like this. I will be telling a summarized version. Imagine yourself as a young fresh graduate in a new country, starting out and trying to prove yourself, trying to make it. However, out of nowhere, you then lose your job, end up with an apartment that you can no longer afford. So out of sadness, you just go around, go to a cafe, get coffee, when suddenly your childhood friend from elementary sees you. You get to talking and you tell him of your situation. However, out of nowhere, your friend offers to help you. He tells you that you can stay in this place for as long as you need until you can get back up free of charge. You accept because you're desperate. You don't have any other choice. Then a few weeks pass and you now have a stable job again and you can now get your apartment back. You then want to repay your friend for his kind act. You approach him and give him some money for your stay in his place, but then he declines. He said that, "Oh, I didn't do this because I expected anything in return from you. I did this because of genuine concern. The person did it out of genuine kindness. That those were his intentions, and I think that this feeling that you get after the feeling of indebtedness, the feeling that you want to repay him for what he did. That reaction is utang na loob. And I believe that this story actually helps the viewer visualize the feeling and what it truly is, what the concept is, what the value is, what the trait is. So what is utang na loob? If literally translated, it would be debt of the inside. However, in a moral sense, is, according to Leonardo de Castro, debt of goodwill. It happens when a person offers help or support, and the receiver then feels a sense of indebtedness or eagerness to return the favor. This is a value that has cemented itself in our country's culture and is being deeply practiced among Filipinos. However, not everyone truly understands the concept. Not everyone understands it the same. There is no not there is no current singular understanding of it since it's prone to misconception, as we can see in Charles Kaut's work entitled Utang na Loob, a System of Contractual Obligation Among Tagalogs. Based on his title, one would assume, or we could see that one would think that it's quite transactional. It's very too systematic of a concept, too systematic of uh, too systematic of an understanding of the value. And also, according to Mary Steiner, utang na loob, reciprocity is most consciously generated when a transfer of goods or services takes place between individuals belonging to two different groups. These definitions are not really best, in my opinion, and the better definitions of the concept and definitions that truly captures the value in its truest form, in my opinion, comes from Jeremiah Reyes and Sheldon Agaton. Jeremiah Reyes said that utang na loob is not only about the object or service that is rendered, but is primarily about the kapwa relationship. According to Sheldon Agaton, utang na loob is a unique Filipino trait that should be preserved and practiced in its original intent. Sharing is good, giving something without expecting anything in return is an exemplary type of gesture worth emulating. But before I could be able to have a moral re-examination of utang na loob, I must first present my basis for moral judgment and create a moral criteria for the concept. As seen in the previous part, Sheldon Agaton set the standard for what utang na loob is and what it should be. The giver not having any expectations of reciprocation in the future, but instead gives help because of genuine concern and kindness. This, according to Agaton, is the original intent of the act, and this is the way that it should be practiced and preserved. Utang na loob should be done the right way, which is about kindness, generosity, and giving without expecting anything in return. The motivations of the people practicing this value must be pure and free of malicious and immoral intent. Any contradictions or exclusions from this criteria will be considered not the right way of practicing utang na loob. So, for the intent and purposes of this paper, this will also be set as the ideal measure or standard that we will utilize in the next part of the paper. In his paper, Sheldon Agaton also explained the different vantage points of utang na loob. Of the different vantage points seen in the paper, I chose only two as it fits the need of my paper. First is unintentional utang na loob. It happens when the act of giving or helping is spontaneous and deliberately made, and its focal point is more on the act of giving, whatever you have to those in need, that its very foundation is generosity. Its focal point is more on the act of giving whatever you have to those in need. And even though it sounds too idealistic and unrealistic, this vantage point should be one that is emulated and practiced. It is a set standard for how utang na loob should be. He wrote that this should be the basis of human person's act of generosity and kindness towards other people. Give without expecting something in return, as the adage goes, according to Sheldon Agaton. The next vantage point is the intentional or induced utang na loob. This is the negative vantage point, if I may say. This happens when a person maliciously extends assistance to another who is in need. This is intentional because the help is not given out of kindness, but is done with the intention of creating a sense of indebtedness and expectations of reciprocation in the future. This is malicious because this happens when someone wants to use this value to manipulate others. This, for the purposes of the paper, will then be used as what utang na loob is not and what it should not be. These two vantage points will be used to set standards as to how it should be done and how it should not be done, what it is, what it is not. Now, we can question what the motivations of the people are when it comes to utang na loob. Mary Steiner said that every Filipino is expected to possess utang na loob, and if you stray from it, you will be called walang utang na loob, which means without debt of goodwill. According to Jeremiah Reyes, It is one of the worst things to be called in the Philippine society. With all that being said, the intentions of the people for the act of utang na loob could be flawed. They would be doing this not because of pure intentions, but because of their fear to be shamed for not doing it. This is what I meant when I said that there was a misconception of this concept. The people have the wrong intentions and motivations. They understand and perceive the value in a wrong way, different from the very foundation of the trait. If one would practice utang na loob, it should be because of pure generosity, kindness, and goodness, not because of fear. The understanding of this concept should be revived, and according to Agathon, should be preserved and practiced in its original intent. And, well, people use utang na loob with malicious and immoral intent to manipulate others into having a sense of indebtedness towards them. But if utilized as a tool to take advantage and manipulate others, this would automatically be morally wrong, straying from the very purpose and center of the value. People use utang na loob with malicious and immoral intent to manipulate others, and this aspect can be seen in our daily lives and can even be seen up until the world of Philippine politics and governance. From friends doing favors for other friends with the intent of having them to do something for them in return in the future, to colleagues in the world of Philippine politics and doing favors and acts of alleged goodness for others with the intention of self-promotion and motivation of gaining favorable return of services in the future. I believe that the value itself and the very original intention and purpose of this is good. However, like everything good in this world, it is not free also from the evils of the world. If used correctly, it can be used as an avenue for morally righteous acts, but if wrongly understood, wrongly utilized with malicious intent and wrongful motivations, then this would be morally wrong. It doesn't fit the standards that we set, since the motivations, the intentions aren't what it is supposed to be. In conclusion, I maintain my stance that there is a misconception of utang na loob and how it can be morally wrong. I have shown the different interpretations of the concept and determined what it should be. I used Sheldon Agathon's framework for understanding utang na loob and these ideas to create a criteria or framework for judging if the value is being morally utilized. Lastly, I have also shown how utang na loob can be used for malicious purposes and can be morally wrong. Thank you for listening, and God bless.